Blizzard Entertainment has established a pedigree of excellence in creating video games that sees very few rivals. Regardless of your own personal preference or favorite genre, they manage to make titles that can be appealing to the masses regardless of your affinity to any particular style of video game. Now, Blizzard has unleashed its newest franchise, Overwatch, a fast-paced and frenetic first-person shooter with a surprising amount of depth. Like with all my reviews, I'll go over a description of the game, the good aspects, and the not-so-good. First and foremost, Overwatch is a team-based first-person shooter that has you either take and hold various objective points, defend objective points, move payloads, or a mix of all. To decide which characters are best suited for the varying tasks at hand, Overwatch's hero roster contains 21 heroes to start and is broken down into 4 groups: offensive, defensive, tanks, and support. Offensive types excel at dealing damage, distracting/subverting enemies, and flanking. Defenders are the best at locking down objective points and holding enemies at bay. Tanks are your frontline pushers that move the team forward and draw most of the attention. Finally, support characters are skilled in healing allies, debuffing enemies, and overall keeping a team healthy and in the fight. Depending if you're attacking an objective, escorting a payload, or doing your best to prevent the enemy team of doing either of those things, you are typically encouraged to switch between heroes. Not only are you switching from hero to hero between matches, but Overwatch insists that you even change heroes mid-match. This leniency is something that some might see as a flaw, but actually the ability to change heroes at the respawn point, or when you die in battle, allows you to come up with a counter strategy for whatever particular foe you are having troubles with. If Overwatch didn't have this feature, many teams would be done from the start of the match. Instead of upgradable characters and weapons, each time you earn a level for your profile, you'll be given a loot box. These can contain voice lines, spray paints, victory poses, skins, and in-game currency that you can use to pinpoint the items you want the most, amongst other things. Beside regular quick play, training mode, versus AI, and a weekly brawl are also available to those looking to train up, or just to try something different.
Smells like victory.
Let's jump into what makes this game a blast to play. Each character is a completely different entity that feels drastically different from all the others. If Call of Duty and Battlefield are your thing, Soldier 76 is a great entry point with his heavy pulse rifle, rockets, biotic field, and tactical visor, aka auto-aim. If shooting isn't your thing and healing your team is more your style, Mercy's healing staff can return lost hit points or provide a damage boost, which can be a great boon to those who lack any self-healing. Or, if you'd rather, you can play as Torbjorn, whose main focus is on building and maintaining a turret that does most all the work for you, while you pick up scrap to provide your team with armor. There truly is a character for everyone. Each one feels like hours of time and polish went into them to make them as wonderful as they could be. Also, their skins and additional voice lines add even more depth and personality, which is always a plus. Next, the maps. They're gorgeous. Each one is dripping with color and detail, some even with references to other Blizzard franchises. My personal favorite is Ilios, which is this striking coastal village in Greece that is so bright and beautiful. Finally, the thing that will keep this game going is how fresh the gameplay feels each time you drop into a match. Even if your team loses, there's still a chance that you or one of your teammates might get the coveted Play of the Game, which highlights one hero's exploits on the battlefield at the end of the match. That reward of having your own personal time to shine is so fulfilling and gratifying that more games need to include it down the line. Also, instead of showing a typical kill-death screen at the end of a match, Overwatch highlights about 4 heroes combined on both teams, representing a stat that was exceptionally good. You can then vote for your favorite, and if they get 5 or more votes, the narrator will say epic, and if you get 10 votes, you'll hear legendary, which is a good way of rewarding good play regardless of whose team you might be on. The last point I want to touch on is that of the weapon designs, which are completely and absolutely phenomenal. Each one of them seems like a physical embodiment of the character you're playing. 2 of my favorite heroes, Junkrat and Mei, have some of the most complex tools of destruction. Just look at the little indicators and moving parts that are on Junkrat's, for instance. Or, if you hold the trigger down on Mei's blaster, the end of the barrel starts to freeze over. These tiny details go a long way and can be mesmerizing to behold. It's the little things that make the biggest difference, and Blizzard knows it. And now for the not-so-good stuff, which there isn't really much at all. Keeping in mind that this is a team-centric game, it can be frustrating when no one on the team is interested in being what I like to call a team player. These characters can sometimes be seen as less exciting ones, like the tanks and the healers. This isn't a huge deal, but having each of those classes on your team needs to be a priority, regardless of the objective. This is where playing with friends can alleviate some of these issues, so just know that going in that you might want to bring a buddy or 2 along to help you in your battles. Also, for all the great narrative and additional content that Blizzard has put out for this game online, next to none of it is in the final game. This is really saddening because a lot of these characters have cool and compelling backstories. These elements should really be included in the game, or at the very least, the bios for each of the characters should be readily available in the Hero Gallery section. Finally, there's no single-player campaign or any strong offline functionality. Seeing as this particular franchise is focusing on online play and esports, this isn't really surprising. That being said, all of Blizzard's other games feature strong solo-player experiences that are exceptional and can be even better than the multiplayer. Offline playing isn't an area of neglect in this game, but the lack of single-player has me wanting more. Overall, Overwatch is a phenomenal game. The characters, the maps, the gameplay, the aesthetic upgrades are all superb. While the lack of any strong single-player or additional background information on the heroes is a detriment, the game's ability to excite and delight are unmatched. Regardless of what type of games you like, Overwatch is something for you. Kudos to Blizzard for branching out and making a first-person shooter without a standard team deathmatch. You nailed it. Like my review? Let me know what you think of Overwatch in the comments below. Also be sure to share this with anyone who's interested in Overwatch, and follow me on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram for all the recent goings-on here at Critical Reviews. If you have time, check out my weekly podcast called The Critical Podcast. Original, right? Each week, Joe and I discuss the latest and greatest in video games, movies, TV shows, and what have you. If you're feeling extra generous, visit the Twitch channel and our PayPal account. The time you donate is the most precious to us, but a few bucks here and there allow us to upgrade our tech and possibly cover events down the line. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.